Today, we're talking about boba. And we're not boba heads by any means, but we know the taste and the texture that we really like. We even have a favorite spot, but we'll get more into that later. Boba is one of those things that I've always been wanting to make at home from scratch by myself, or with Adrian, that's fine too. But it's just something I've always wanted to make because for some reason, all the boba spots that we go to 90% of the time kind of like fail us more than like satisfy our boba craving. So it becomes like a huge letdown. Just like 99.9% of all things in life, boba is preference. It comes down to preference. What you like, the textures, the taste, the certain drinks. Just because I'm Filipino doesn't mean I'm going to get taro or ube or whatever. But I mean, I will. The texture of boba we're looking for isn't just sugary, fluffy balls in our mouth. We want something soft enough to chew, something, to enhance the drinking experience without becoming a workout for your jaw. And I mentioned that we have our own favorite spot, and it's a spot called The Alley. Unfortunately, in the Bay Area, I don't think there's one here that we can easily drive to, but we first had this on our year of travel when we saw one in Korea, and we just, ordered one, and we kind of just fell in love with it. And the next day we went back and we ordered again just to see like their consistency and things, and it was on point again. And then we arrived in Thailand and we saw The Alley there, and we're like, oh, we have to get one now. So we got one there, and then when we went to Singapore, we happened to catch the grand opening of their Singapore location. So The Alley has a lot of memories for us for our year of travel, and it really holds a pretty nice cozy space in our hearts as far as boba spots go. Now that you know that Alley is our favorite place for boba drinks, let us know in the comments what your favorite place is, what your go-to drink is when you're trying to get that boba fix. Boba is something I've been wanting to make from scratch for a while. It's very simple in its ingredients. There's only 3 things that you need, but it isn't as easy as it seems. I've attempted making boba a good number of times. We're using recipes from Emmy Made, from Ingalam, Cooking Tree, and even using the ones from Tasty. And out of maybe 20 or so attempts, 1 or 2 of those were successes. My failures included a dough not being formed. It would just bloop, it would melt, it wouldn't keep its shape at all. And one time I finally got a dough, then I got to the cooking process and then it disintegrated on me. Then I got past that stage and then it kind of just misshapen. It started to not look like balls and started to look like little chips. There were times where the dough would just crumble on me, and failure happened at such different stages. Even when using that same recipe and I did nothing different, failure just happened at different stages and I couldn't troubleshoot what was going on. So I didn't know where to go. I started to do a little research about types of sugars. I asked my sister-in-law for some help because she is from Taiwan, and she did a little research on some of the Taiwanese boba recipe blogs out there and translated it for me and really helped me with this boba making journey. So thank you, sister-in-law. I really appreciate all your help for this. So I found out that a lot of the recipes here have a very high sugar content. So with that, I started to lower my sugar content and then play with the ratios of my ingredients. After that, I started to get more successful attempts at boba making. The only thing that was going wrong was that it was getting overcooked. It was just too soft. And so from there, I started to lessen the cooking time till it's at the point at which we were both happy with. I'm confident in saying that our recipe will probably be the fastest cook time and rest time out there. There's a lot of them that are 30 minutes cooking, 30 minutes resting covered. There's 20 and 20, 15 and 20, 20 cook. There's so many different, but nothing under 10. Ours is a 5-minute cook time and a 5-minute rest. And I don't know how I got there I mean, I do know how I got there, but yeah, it's pretty crazy how that all came to be. But anyway, so some of the troubleshooting or some of the answers that I found that helped me when boba making, if you're running into some trouble, are that, you know, if you add your starch straight to a boil or even straight to the cold water, it won't hold its shape at all. So I could have been doing that. I could have been like adding it when it was too hot still. I just wouldn't, like, it would just melt. So you'll need to add some of the starch in after you dissolved your sugar, just to gelatinize the mixture, and then make sure you don't add the rest of your starch when it's super hot, because then it'll become shapeless boba. Other things are just, you know, the type of sugar you're using. So if you can get a Taiwanese black sugar, great. If you can't, no worries, you can order Muscovado sugar from Amazon. Let's dive into the kitchen. Let's get to this super fast, super simple boba recipe that you can make with any of your favorite teas, your brown sugar milk tea, your whatever, all that good stuff. Let's go. Oh yeah, don't forget to give us a thumbs like, subscribe, join us on Cene and all that good stuff. Everything's in the description. And yeah, so let's hop to the kitchen. To make boba, you'll need Taiwanese black sugar or Muscovado sugar, water, and tapioca starch. Mix 20 grams of sugar and 30 milliliters of water into a pot and dissolve all of the sugars on a medium or low heat. Once all your sugar has dissolved, add in about 15 grams of tapioca starch out of the total 45 grams of tapioca starch that you'll need for the whole recipe. Give it a good mix, you don't want any lumps. Bring it back onto the heat on a medium and stir it until it starts to thicken and gelatinize. Then you're going to want to take it off the heat and continue to stir for about 1 to 2 minutes just to slightly cool off this mixture. Then add in the rest of your tapioca starch. Continue to stir it and try to incorporate as much of that starch as you can. It'll be a little tough, but do your best. Dust your cutting board or your work area with some tapioca starch and pour your mixture right onto the board. Then you're going to start to knead your mixture, trying to form a dough. If your dough is melting, then you've added it too early when your mixture was too hot, and if it's crumbling, then you have too much starch or you've cooked off too much of the liquid in your mixture. When your dough is nice and smooth, you're gonna roll it into a little log and then cut it in half. Save 1/2 in plastic wrap so it doesn't dry out, and start a pot of water on the stove. Bring it to a boil so it's ready to cook when we're done shaping. Take a tablespoon of tapioca starch and put it in a little pile on your work surface. Roll out your dough to a thin long log and cut pieces as best as you can the same size and start to shape your boba balls. This is going to be the longest process. If you don't care about the shape, you can totally skip this. Once you formed a ball, you can roll it into the pile of tapioca starch. Before you boil, make sure to put it in a strainer and try to shake off all of the excess tapioca starch. As you put it in the pot of boiling water, make sure to give it a stir so that none of the balls stick to the bottom. And you're going to cook this for 5 minutes. Then take it off the heat, cover it, and let it sit for another 5 minutes. When it's done, go ahead and strain out your boba, give it a shock in some cold water, and you're pretty much done. Now let's make a little brown sugar syrup so we can add it to our nice tea that's been steeping while we were making this. Heat up 20 grams of sugar and 60 milliliters of water until it's nice and thick. Then drain your boba and add it into this brown sugar syrup until it gets even thicker. Add it to your cup, swirl it around the edges, add milk, or add your tea. You've made boba at home. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what kind of boba tea you guys make at home, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.